Today we have one other young Indian with us as part of the Voice of the Young segment. Hello, everybody. Good to be with you once again. Today we have Jheelum Sarkar with us. She is studying in a university for her Ph.D. in a university in the US, a Ph.D. in economics. A kind of a journey I would not advise most people to undertake. But let's listen to her as to what she's doing, why she's here, and what's going on with her. So over to you.
Hi, everyone. As Dr. Mathur has introduced me, my name is Jheelum Sarkar, and I'm from West Bengal province in India. So I'm here to do my PhD at American University in economics. And prior to that, I did my master's and MPhil from JNU in India, and my bachelor's in economics as well. So it's been economics, and economics. So like while I was pursuing my postgrad in economics, I got interested in environmental economics in my third semester of my MA. And especially because like that economics is beyond like the jargons that we typically known to be associated with it, like the macroeconomy or the GDP and stuff like that. It can also extend to something related to natural resources, things that are tied to the earth. So that especially like made me interested in this field. And later on, I started like browsing more about it. And while working as a research assistant to my MPhil supervisor, I got passionate about the links between climate and gender. So that's the main motivation to do my PhD, because I really want to work in this area, like climate change and gender inequality, especially because like South Asia is considered to be one of the hotspots in terms of the climate change.
Yes.
But majority of the work, like the scholarly articles or like the programs that targeted towards the climate change adaptation and mitigations are centered around sub-Saharan African countries, which are also like the global hotspots. But like in countries like South Asia's, more research is needed to be done. And especially like in country like ours, like India, there are works on climate change, like the scholarly articles and stuff like that. But studies that is specifically focused on climate and gender is limited. So one like limitation is because there are other economic problems that we need to like deal with, like the employment and health, human development areas. But so lesser emphasis has been done in the association between climate and gender. Another limitation is because of the data availability. For instance, like if you have observed the recent trends in gender economics research, is like the use of the time use surveys and the notions of the unpaid domestic and care work. So I think one problem is because in Indian, like the notion about the unpaid housework or the household work is very known to very limited population. And like we all know, for instance, like I talk to my families about this unpaid household work, like the domestic or care work, and like some of them said that, well, you cannot associate money with what we do for you with love. And that's what like majority people thinks about it. But that is not what it is. Like we know what our families have done, but the thing is the work, the considerable amount of efforts that, for example, my mother has given to brought me up along with her outside is considerable. And that is actually the foundation for where I am standing today. And several students like me have standing today, like the families are standing today. So the fact that those kind of activities contribute to the economic progress over time has to be acknowledged.
Yes.
And hence research needs to be done in that area. And surprisingly, like several studies or, like the reports by international organizations and even at the national levels have highlighted the problems like the climate change or the extreme climate has increased. For instance, like areas where the problems of floods, droughts, cyclone storms, which have intensified over time in India, there the problems that women face.
Yeah.
It's not like any like problems that like has arose like recently, but those problems are like have been there because of the social division of labor through gender lens.
Yes.
Women are entitled to do the household work,
Yeah.
and supposed to go to bring the money, like the economic activity. So what happens is, like, whenever there is a climate extreme event, and for instance, say drought, then it's the woman who has to work like several miles to collect the water and full it in the rural areas, right? So the time spent on those kind of activities increases.
Yeah.
As a result, they do not have the time for leisure or skills development. And it's not always the old woman who pursue those kind of activities. Even young girls also have to do it, especially because in rural areas, several girls get married early, or if not married, they have to like help the mother or like the other female household workers. So naturally, the amount of time spent by them on education or skill development or whatever activities that is for the sake of their own is limited.
Yeah.
So we can see like the climate is essentially linked with the time use of women, the time poverty, like the unpaid care and domestic work. Another, like several decades back, we all remember, or we have all known it, the tsunami of 2005.
Yeah.
That so report by international suggested that why more female fatalities compared to male fatalities. It's not out of like gender sensation, but it's because like the woman, like in several parts, those which are affected, the coastal areas. So generally the female fisher woman, or like the females taking care of the households, especially like the children. So while the men, it was supposed to be a weekend, and or probably, it was supposed to be weekend. Men were away from the coastal lines in the agricultural field, doing their activities, and women were inside the house taking care of the children and other household chores. So when the tsunami hit, it's like, behavioral aspect, like it's what they strike them is to like to protect the children, to protect the elderly, those who can't leave the site, right? So while doing so, they couldn't have enough time to save themselves and the others. That's not an option, because climate extremes that will hit you without a warning. Why? Because the men were much away from the coastal lines, that might be the agricultural field or the marketplaces to sell their things, or like went out to meet their friends because it's on weekend. So they were saved. So it's this nature of activities that's linking like climate extremes, climate change with gender. So this is like one of the aspects that has been less explored. And this has like severe economic costs too. So there is like, if you see that the gender inequality problems, the discriminatory actions taken against women is not reducing, like a huge chunk of human capital is being wasted. So it might be possible a man is good at doing domestic activities while a woman is better at economic, like not economic, the paid outside work. So like, why not making it like mainstreams? So why not more research to be done? So, and because like, this is one of the area that is less explored, that's what I want to do while doing my PhD, to like link climate change with time use of women, especially the considerable costs that women bear by doing the domestic and care activities. So, and because it is linked with their economic productivity. So the more time they spend at home, the less they have to spend on their own skill development, leisure, and paid activities. In fact, like an ILO report suggested that 40% of women leaving the labor force worldwide is because they feel that they are primarily responsible for the household activities.
And
Yeah. And like, if you see that whenever a woman take maternity leave and stuff like that in the working places, they bear the cost. They may not get promoted as quickly as the male counterparts. So time use is important in that way.
Yeah.
And I think data collections and data analysis needs to be done in this area. Like, we have a 2019 time use survey data, and probably the previous one that was solely focused on the time use of like individuals was in 1980s. So I think like more data collection, more focused discussions and whatever has to be done in this regard, so that we can do more research in this, in the gender economics aspect. And also because like climate change is an imminent problem, there is like no doubt about it. And India is now one of the global hotspots. You see the temperature, the summer temperature is beyond our imaginations in places, right? So think about like the women in the rural areas who do not have access to, you know, make their lives comfortable. They cannot afford the AC, they cannot afford the refrigerators. They have to like go and work in the open. Right? Like, and even the men. That impacts their health. I mean, that impacts their health. So that's one issue. So for instance, like if some, for instance, in the coastal areas where the cyclones and floods are very frequent nowadays, and so if like the men of the households migrate to say relatively resilient cities for alternative occupations, right? Say for the manufacturing or construction sectors. Right? So once like, you know, while they started getting adapted to this new set of jobs. And then again, like heat waves and extreme summers and dry spells hit there, then they suffer. The considerable amount of time that they could have given in those activities to increase their daily wages, they can't get it. No. Because they suffer, like they can't go and work. Or else they do, they are unaware about the considerable health costs that they bear. So these are the links that I would like to explore.
It's going to be a tough journey.
Yeah, thank you.
It's going to be a tough journey because, as you said, not much work has been done. And the impact of climate change itself is not really understood that well. And how it affects on a gender basis, I think is even less understood. So it should be a tough business, a pioneering business in any case. And it's something to certainly pursue and think about as to how it can be quantified or even clarified. Both are possible. And yeah, so let's hope that you make a good show of it, that you come up with something which tries to be rigorous about it. You know, and, you can find the data sets that you need.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, actually, like climate change is more viewed as a scientific problem rather than a social problem. So that's one issue. Like many people don't care about it. I mean, now increasingly, like people have started to care about it because they have started experiencing what it is giving. But like many people view it as more of a science problem rather than the thing that it is impacting their day-to-day lives.
But that is changing, you know, that is changing. That cannot be anymore there. You know, it's really clear that, you know, the heat is more, the floods are more, the rainfall is uneven.
Right.
And rainfall was always uneven, but the variability has increased and the effects are very much more clear. So I think there's no real dispute about that. It is there in the minds of the people, but the question is always how to do it, what to do. So that's something that needs to be looked at carefully.
So like in this regard, that the fact that climate change impacts the poor population more because they are more exposed to natural environment and whatever exogenous shocks. But the thing is, like over time, it will impact everyone, irrespective of economic positions or economic conditions of their household. So the more quickly like we start taking actions, the better it is. Like we are at the tip of the iceberg, right? So I think like while it is true that younger people are getting more awareness about it, because of, I mean, every like social media has its own pros and cons, right? So one aspect is if people use it judiciously, you can get pretty many informations like upcoming stuff and like that. So one thing is like people of my generations and like generations to like younger than me, they know like what it is. But I feel like even it is important so that people from older generations also needs to get aware so that they can also impart the same to their fellows, and they can impart the same to their younger generations. In that way, like it is going to be spread. The awareness needs to be like universal. But yeah, like in order for to find the solutions, it is very important that interdisciplinary actions to be taken. You cannot tackle this problem like from one angle. Like the scientific like research will highlight that how anthropogenic influences is causing climate change problems, which is of course undeniable. But the fact that those problems is again in turn impacting people, the humans, the environment, right? So for to tackle the entire web, we need to fight it or combat it with interdisciplinary approach. And while we do that, we need to acknowledge that the policies on climate change globally has to be inclusive. It has to include the woman from tribal areas, people who really like know how to like talk to the nature. They have those practical solutions to deal with this sort of problems, the environmental problems. We need to listen to them. Like whatever research we do, that's with the numbers, right? But we need to, those numbers are directly linked with the people who are located in the hotspots, who have to deal with the hotspots day after day. So
yeah, we get it. You know, we get the point. I think it's very clear. And is there anything else you want to tell us about your journey? You know, how was your BA and MA in JNU? I mean, what did it feel like? How did it affect you? What were the big things about it? It's worth telling us.
So I did my bachelor's from Calcutta in the Econ college. So it was like a very sort of academia oriented. And obviously like there are curricular activities, but it was very systematic in the way that we do not have like anything like, you know, what should I say, like the thoughts and stuff like that, whatever is going around the world. We are more into like taking out like the academic aspects and focusing on building ourselves, which I felt is really important in terms of disciplining ourselves while preparing for like big goals in our life. So while being in that circle and then suddenly moving to JNU and facing the real life, that was really different because that was my first time outside the West Bengal. So I had no idea like how to stay away from my family and also like to a place where the language is different and everything is different. So so that was a big challenge for me. And then there were people, actually, honestly, like I felt like JNU is more of a miniature version of India. Because people from all over India coming there to study, north, east, west, south, everywhere. So people speak very different languages. You know, like each language or each region has their own circle, but amazingly they all mix together. And that's how India is, you know, unity in diversity. So that was new. And also like washing the clothes and then getting habituated with the hostel food. You have to like cook for a mass students. Each hostel has several thousands of students. It's not like we can't expect that they will cook like really yummy food that we used to get home, that our moms used to cook. We can't, right? Yeah. So, but getting habituated with it, that we have to eat whatever we get. And then we get to see that like students from diverse backgrounds are there. You know, like JNU offers education at a very cheap rate.
Yeah.
So students who are coming from very marginalized sections,
Yeah.
we could never imagine back
Yeah.
when I was doing my bachelor's or even my school.
Yeah.
I never thought about it.
Yeah.
Like that people can come from that poor families.
Yeah.
Or people coming from those regions where women has to fight for their education.
Yeah.
Like during my school days and during my college days, I used to think that those days are over.
Yeah.
But that's not over for all.
No.
They have to fight it to
Yeah.
get educated so
Yeah.
that they can stand on their own feet
Yeah.
and pursue their goals.
Yeah.
So when I was like observing it, that was life changing, honestly. I get to know, no, these things haven't completely disappeared, but people have that in their hands to do it.
Yeah.
So that was like my first lesson. And then like to get to focus on education, no matter whatever is going outside the world.
Yeah.
But at the same time, chatting with people, their views, like on socio-political stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was also like something that I enjoyed learning
Yeah.
from them. It's not that it has to be like entirely sensation for media.
Yeah.
It depends on how we look at it. It depends on how we make our thing out of it.
Yeah.
So that was it. And also like the curriculum in GNU was really good. Honestly, like I was from CITD in GNU, the Center for International Trade and Development.
Yeah.
So it was really rigorous and quantitative.
Yeah.
While it was challenging to start off, but actually it helped me.
Yeah.
During my coursework at my PhD.
Yeah.
So, and also when I joined GNU, I wasn't sure that I would pursue the research area.
Yeah.
I was more of a person who wanted to pursue like corporate jobs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But over time, I realized that I'm not for the corporate areas because I started developing passions for environmental economics in my third semester of my MA.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to explore more about it before deciding my road.
Yeah.
Or what kind of job I want to do. So that was one thing. And yeah, and then like, but many of my friends are placed in corporate jobs.
Yeah.
And they have prepared for it. One thing was like nowadays I see that it is getting more and more noticed, and like the placement cells are being very active.
Yeah.
But that like during our time, most of the students have to prepare on their own as well. I have seen.
Yeah.
So like the skill development is always a matter, no matter like where you study. But I feel like the curriculum from the school days till the university has to include this thing called skills development, be it like different like software skills and stuff like that. The colleges where we pursue the bachelor's and stuff like that, they need to like include it into the curriculum, because even if I pursue research or even if I take up job, like economics job is mostly centered around data analysis, be it qualitative or quantitative, right?
Yes.
So we need those sort of coding skills and stuff like that. But that was like very limited.
Yeah.
So we need to like learn on our own, and we eventually have to, right? It's like if a child does not know how to swim and suddenly he's dropped into water, he will try his best to survive, like to arrive to shore. So we do it. But I'm glad to see that like the placement cells and like various forums are getting aware about it, and they are coming with like they are spreading that you can come and get engaged. But I those has to be part of like the main course, I mean with the main courses that we take at the universities, so that like we do not have to spend like separate time learning it. That is actually inefficient if we have to like spend more time on learning something which is actually important in our academic endeavors.
Yeah, okay. I understand that, it's not just the courses, but also these other things which you need all the time. Okay, fine. It's a good observation.
Yeah, and also like one thing more was like writing the CVs.
Yeah.
Which is also like, when we started like about writing our CVs, it was very mysterious. We started like browsing for the templates and how someone did and stuff like that. But if we had this thing that there is someone like who teach you how to do it, like someone who is already placed and aware about what's going on. So I think like what we need is, chain reactions that we need, there has to be a supply chain. Like whatever people who have like established and stuff like that, they
Yeah.
need to like, teach us. And then we will be teaching the people who is coming after us.
After you. Yeah.
Yeah. So that has to be like properly disseminated. I feel like that is there, but is quite limited, and that has to be like expanded.
Yeah, it would help, so that
Yeah, it will help.
you would get, without any hassle, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's great. So JNU was good for you. You went out of Kolkata, you saw the rest of India.
Yeah.
Maybe you ate their food too, whatever.
Yeah, we had like breakfasts, like each day, like the South Indian food or the North Indian food. Sometimes like, the Western Indian food, like the dhoklas and stuff like that. We had this yummy breakfast. I won't deny it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to add? I think we are coming to an end. Anything else you want to add? You said you might have some questions for me, but so far there have been no questions. So you have a question?
No, I do have questions. So what is your perceptions about the views that we express here? Like sometimes, I mean, I get it. It is voice for young.
Yeah.
We are like saying what we observe, but it's undeniable the fact that you have your own experiences coming like as an experienced adult generations. So what's your takeaways from whatever like we are saying?
Well, the first is I'm glad you are saying it. Because obviously, given the age gap, we cannot say that we know what the young people are thinking. The world has changed so much. But one thing hasn't changed, that look, when you go to Delhi, you meet all of India. That hasn't changed. The technologies may have changed, everything may have changed, but no matter what, sitting with your smartphone in place A doesn't make you aware of the rest of India, because you're so content with knowing what is around you, right? So you don't know. So that hasn't changed at all. Okay, that is still that was the case back then, 50, 60 years ago, and it's still the case today. Okay, that of course virtual connections do help.
Yeah.
So the pandemic has brought about these virtual connections, and they do give you some sense, but still there's nothing like living and talking and day to day with people. So that I think is very clear. And JNU is, of course, a premier university in India, so you get smart people, and it's well known that you learn more from your fellow students than from the classes. Okay, what's the point of going to class? Actually, there's not much point of going to class. It's just there, right? But you'll go to your classes, you learn something, you learn a lot, but then the rest of your real world education comes from your friends. And so that I think has also not changed. I think the quota of the share of learning may have changed. And, like you said, you went to this college in Calcutta, which was very academic.
Yeah.
But in my time, in Delhi, in the elite colleges, there was no education. There's no teaching. Forget it. Just study, because we didn't have semester exams, we only had annual exams. And that also, the main annual exam was at the end of the third year.
Oh.
Okay, the first year, the exams were there, but it didn't count for your marks. Second year, the only 25% of the total, 75% at the end of the third year. So why the hell you should study in the first and second years? And the college also, because the curriculum's aimed at the average college in Delhi. So if you are collecting all the highly educated people in one college, why should they waste their time studying? It's pointless. Right. So we did have classes and all, but it wasn't sort of a requirement
Mhm.
that you study hard, except in the third year. Okay. Because then you had to be ready for the final. First year and all, it was like, okay, fine. Don't.
Yeah, there is this thing like I used to hear like first year don't care.
Okay. Second year, maybe you care a little.
Yeah.
But it was, so anyway, that was different life. Okay, that was a different life. And so I really can't comment on what life is like now, because honestly, the older people have no clue. Okay, they have no clue
Mhm.
as to
Mhm.
what it is like. And I am also living outside India for a long time. So what can I say? I can't say anything about life and, you know, the choices people make and the
Mhm.
constraints that they face and how they make their decisions. And why you left Kolkata to go to JNU, not because JNU offers much better education.
Mhm.
You have good education in Kolkata, but obviously you wanted to be exposed to something. And that has always been the
Yeah.
case. So I think that is the same. Other than that, you know, we can have a discussion on the economics, but I think that we can do offline.
True. True.
Okay, there's a long discussion and we can do it offline.
Yeah.
No point in doing it here.
Mhm.
But I didn't see anything else that I could react to here in this. I'm just glad that you are here, and you didn't tell us why you didn't want to do a PhD in Delhi school or something like that. Why
Ah,
you go abroad?
yeah, no, the main motivation was I was enchanted by work of two professors who work here on gender economics, especially the feminist economics. So I really wanted to work with them, and that's my main motivation to apply here. Otherwise, like I would have applied for PhD in India.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, fine. We get that point that and they gave you the scholarship anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's free.
yeah.
You aren't spending any of your money, no?
No, I don't have to.
No, you don't have to. You get
Yeah,
enough
the scholarship is enough. So like
money.
in this aspect, yeah, like if the Indian institutes like I think like the IITs and IIMs offer like considerable scholarships to the researchers. Yeah. And even like the D schools. So like it's equivalent if we take it in the purchasing power parity index.
Yeah,
But
okay, fine.
yeah,
So you don't have to earn any money. You can just
yeah,
focus on your studies, right?
yeah.
Without,
But yeah,
without spending any money from your family. It's okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
But like skill development, that's really important because not every students like have the situation to spend years after years in education or like interest in PhD. But like when it comes to searching for jobs, it gets problematic if they have no experiences with the technical skills and stuff like that, which is getting very important nowadays for the jobs. So
Okay, I understand. So anything else you want to say before we close?
I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity and
I'm
come to
I'm
speak.
happy to have the opportunity. So let's say goodbye here to
Yeah,
the
sure.
viewers, and we will perhaps come back to you in 1 year and
Yeah,
say,
sure.
listen, what's happening? What are you doing now? Right?
Sure. Yeah. See you.
All right. Bye bye, everybody.